Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let's take a look at how I use the Calendar app on my Mac. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So here's another video in my productivity series where I show you how I use various parts of macOS to be more productive. So today let's look at the Calendar app. Now I probably don't use the Calendar app as much as many of you do. I don't really have that many scheduled events. But I do have some unique ways of using it, and maybe you can use these ideas as well. So first of all, I only have two main calendars, and that's personal and family. So why don't I have one for work and personal, or maybe several different aspects of work? Well, the way I look at it, there's only one of me. If I have a lunch scheduled, does it really matter if it's a personal friendly lunch or a business lunch? There's only one of me. I can only be at one lunch at a time. So I put anything that pertains to just me in my personal calendar. It's personal and work is what I could really call it. But probably my most important calendar is the family calendar. So the family calendar is a shared calendar that I set up with the members of my household. And we put shared events in there. Anything that could affect anybody else. So for instance, I will put something like a dentist appointment in the family calendar so everybody else knows that I've got to do something that morning. I've got to go to the dentist. For me, it really doesn't matter whether it's in personal or family. I always have those turned on so I can always see those. So we all put events in there, and it's really great because instead of having to tell everybody else all the little things that we do, we just put it in the calendar. You get an alert when somebody adds something to the calendar, and you can also look at a day when you're trying to schedule something and see what other people are up to. Plus, the notes and information is really useful as well. If we're taking a trip somewhere, I could put all of the flight information in the calendar event. So instead of somebody ask me, when's our flight, what airline are we flying, that kind of thing, it's always there in the calendar. They can just go and look at it. Now sometimes I have to put things in both calendars, and that's okay. I'd love to have a better way to do it, but here's an example of a speaking engagement that I have. And of course it's on my personal calendar. This is very important to me, but I've also duplicated it and added it to the family calendar because everybody else has to know that I have this time blocked off and I can't be disturbed then, and they can't schedule anything else for that time. In the family calendar, I just have the event and time. In the personal calendar, I would perhaps have more things, say in notes, like the Zoom information and links and what topic I'm discussing, all sorts of things like that. And I do like to make use of the notes and URLs and locations when I can. So I'll put a URL if there's a link to something like it's an online meeting. I would put all sorts of other information in the notes so I don't have emails or text files or other things lying around that I need to find as the event approaches. It's all just there in the calendar. It also makes it really easy to access that information on my iPhone. If I'm somewhere else and I want to think about what I'm doing tomorrow, I can look at my notes for an event happening tomorrow. Also notice here how I'm using an emoji character in the title for this event. I've got the megaphone emoji that I use whenever I'm speaking to somebody. And I'll use emoji from time to time to help make things stand out. Otherwise it's just kind of a sea of text and colors on the calendar. Now I do schedule some special events. For instance, I've got on the 20th of every month a monthly payments event. And this is when I want to check to make sure all the auto payments for credit cards and mortgage and things like that are okay and going through. Originally, years ago, this would be the event that triggered an alert and I would go in and pay all my bills. Everything's auto pay now. So I just use it to kind of check to make sure everything is set for auto pay. So this is just something that happens on the 20th of every month. It's set to repeat monthly. So it will just repeat every month on the 20th. And also note that instead of just having a regular alert that I could easily miss, this is a really important event, or at least it used to be before autopay. So I've set up an email alert. So I've gone in to the alerts and instead of using one of these I set custom and I set it to be an email sent to myself at the time of the event. Since I always clear out my inbox, I'm never going to miss an email about this event even though I might miss the notification. So I recommend doing this for any event that's of the utmost importance and you just can't miss the alert. I also have a similar one for quarterly taxes. I need to pay quarterly taxes and see I've got a event right here. It's even got an emoji for it. And since these are quarterly and I like to schedule them for late in the week, before it's due. I basically make it my task that at the beginning of every year I set them up for every quarter for that year. Now I also subscribe to a couple calendars. So these are kind of simple but really useful. My local trash service in the city here, if you go to the site for the city, they actually have a calendar you can subscribe to. And it's got different systems. You can do it with Google as well. But I subscribe to the one that's compatible with Calendar, and you can see I've got a trash service subscription so I can see when trash is going to be picked up, if it's going to be picked up on a different day in a certain week, and also if there are some weeks that are special. Like for instance, this one here is Extra Trash Day. It's kind of hard to find this information by looking on the website, so it's just nice to have this in the calendar, and if it gets in the way I can just turn it off if I'm not looking for that information right now. Likewise, I'm also a baseball fan, so I subscribe to a calendar that shows me the Colorado Rockies schedule, and I could see that here and I could see every game because it's kind of a pain to go onto a website and try to look up when the game starts tonight, make sure it's the right time zone and all of that. I just have this calendar I subscribe to, and most of the time it's turned off so it's not cluttering the calendar. But I simply turn it on, I can glance at it to see when the game starts, and I can turn it off again. So think of other things where there might be calendars you can subscribe to and look for online subscriptions that you could add to your calendar app. So if you like, share your productivity tips for using the calendar app in the comments and let me know what calendars you subscribe to, maybe what different calendars you create, and ways that you use calendar that are a little different than how I use it. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.